An analyst paraphrases a sell-side research report. No direct quotes. Her own words throughout. She sends the note to clients with her name at the top. Did she just violate CFA standards? Most candidates say no. The exam says yes. And that same misunderstanding, applied to just 2 standards, trips up thousands of CFA candidates every year. The exam tests exactly one thing here: the difference between a false statement and a dishonest ACT. Get that distinction wrong and you'll lose points on questions where you thought you knew the answer. Standard IC, misrepresentation. The official text. Members and candidates must not knowingly make any misrepresentations relating to investment analysis, recommendations, actions, or other professional activities. 3 words the exam exploits. First, knowingly. Candidates read this and think intent is a defense. It is not. Negligent misrepresentation still violates IC. Second, misrepresentations. This includes false statements, half-truths, omissions of material fact, and implied guarantees. Third, professional activities. That means verbal pitches, emails, LinkedIn profiles, and marketing materials, not just formal research reports. Standard ID, misconduct. The official text. Members and candidates must not engage in any professional conduct involving dishonesty, fraud, or deceit, or commit any act that reflects adversely on their professional reputation, integrity, or competence. This is the exam trap phrase right here. Any act that reflects adversely. Not any professional act. Any act. That phrase extends ID beyond the office. Personal conduct, outside work, after hours, in your private life, can violate ID if it reflects adversely on professional reputation, integrity, or competence. And notice, competence is listed. A pattern of repeated professional failures can violate ID, even without any intent to deceive. The exam tests IC and ID together. Here is the exact decision framework that saves you points under time pressure. When you see a false or misleading statement in a professional context, start with IC. When you see dishonest behavior, an act of fraud, deception, or personal misconduct, start with ID. But here is the critical nuance. Many violations qualify for both simultaneously. Fabricating client signatures. The false document is IC, the fraud is ID, both apply. Guaranteeing returns and a pitch. That is a false statement, IC only. A DUI conviction. No false statement, ID only. Tax evasion. The fraudulent filings may be outside professional activities for IC, but the dishonest financial act clearly hits ID. The exam tests IC and ID together. Here is the exact decision framework that saves you points under time pressure. When you see a false or misleading statement in a professional context, start with IC. When you see dishonest behavior, an act of fraud, deception, or personal misconduct, start with ID. But here is the critical nuance. Many violations qualify for both simultaneously. Fabricating client signatures. The false document is IC, the fraud is ID, both apply. Guaranteeing returns and a pitch. That is a false statement, IC only. A DUI conviction. No false statement, ID only. Tax evasion. The fraudulent filings may be outside professional activities for IC, but the dishonest financial act clearly hits ID. Plagiarism under IC. The exam tests this concept in 3 ways, and candidates fail all 3. The paraphrasing trap. You change every word but keep the analysis. Violation. The modification trap. You take a quantitative model, tweak one parameter, call it yours. Violation. The public information trap. The research report is publicly available, so attribution is optional, right? Wrong. Public availability is completely irrelevant to attribution requirements under CFA standards. Someone's intellectual work is still their intellectual work, whether it is behind a paywall or on a public website. The test is not, did I use their exact words? The test is, am I presenting their intellectual work as my own? If yes, attribution required, period. Exam question 1. Read carefully, this is a real exam trap. An analyst at a buy-side firm copies a section of a sell-side research report into her client note, paraphrasing the language but not using direct quotations. She does not attribute the analysis to the sell-side firm. Has she violated any CFA standard? A. No, she paraphrased rather than quoted directly. B. Yes, standard I. C. Misrepresentation. Attribution is required for analysis regardless of whether it is quoted directly. C. Yes, standard ID. Misconduct. She acted dishonestly. D. No, the sell-side report is public information. The answer is B. Paraphrasing without attribution is plagiarism under CFA standards. The violation is presenting someone else's analysis as your own, regardless of how you rephrased it. Public availability of the source does not remove the attribution requirement. CFA designation rules. The exam tests this with ruthless precision. The CFA designation is binary. You either have it or you do not. There is no CFA Level I credential. There is no CFA Level II credential. There is no such thing as a partial CFA. The charter is earned by passing all 3 exams, completing 4,000 hours of qualifying work experience, and maintaining active membership in CFA Institute. Only then, and only then, may the letter CFA appear after your name. Think of it like a medical degree. You cannot put MD, year 3, after your name because you've completed 3 years of medical school. Similarly, CFA, Level 2, on a business card is a violation even if factually accurate about your progress. Exam question 2. The credential trap. Marcus Chen passed the CFA Level II exam 2 months ago and is currently registered for the Level III exam. His LinkedIn profile states, Marcus Chen, CFA, Level II. Which of the following is most accurate? A. Acceptable. He correctly identifies his current level. B. Violate standard I. C. The CFA designation cannot be used until all requirements for the charter are met. C. Acceptable. CFA, Level II, accurately reflects his progress. D. Violates the standard only if a client relies on the designation. The answer is B. CFA, in any form, cannot appear after a name until the full charter is earned. Option A is wrong because accuracy is necessary, but not sufficient. The designation rules are absolute. Option D is wrong because CFA standards do not require harm or reliance for a misrepresentation to exist. Personal conduct and standard ID. Here is where most candidates get trapped. They believe professional ethics stops at the office door. Standard ID does not. The phrase, any act that reflects adversely on professional reputation, integrity, or competence, is the key. The exam tests this with 3 specific scenarios. A DUI conviction on a Saturday night, no professional capacity involved. Possible ID violation. Apply the reflects adversely test. Would a sophisticated client question this person's professional trustworthiness? A single DUI maybe. A pattern of substance-related behavior, almost certainly. Tax evasion, financial crime involving fraud and dishonesty. ID violation, a financial professional's integrity is central to what clients trust them to do. Embezzlement from a charity, dishonesty in personal life. ID violation, the act reflects on integrity regardless of the professional context in which it occurred. Exam question 3. The personal conduct question. James Wentworth, CFA, is arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol on a Saturday evening. He was not operating in any professional capacity at the time. Which of the following is most accurate? A. No violation. Personal conduct outside work hours cannot violate CFA standards. B. Violation of standard ID. Any criminal behavior violates the standard. C. Possible violation of standard ID. The key question is whether the act reflects adversely on professional reputation, integrity, or competence. D. Violation of standard IC. He misrepresented his fitness for the CFA designation. The answer is C. The standard is the reflects adversely test, applied case by case. A single DUI is not automatically a violation. A is wrong, personal conduct can violate ID. B is wrong, not all criminal behavior automatically violates the standard. D is completely wrong, there is no misrepresentation here at all. Exam question 4. The true but misleading statement. A financial advisor sends marketing email stating, "Our portfolios have never lost money in any calendar year." This is factually true for the 3-year period since the firm was founded, during which markets were broadly positive. Which standards are most likely violated? A. Standard IC. Only, the statement is misleading due to omission of context. B. Standard Roman III D. Performance presentation only, historical performance not presented per GIPS. C. Both Standard IC and Standard Roman III D. Misleading statement and improper performance presentation. D. No violation, the statement is factually accurate. The answer is C. The statement is true but misleading by omission. A 3-year bull market track record presented without context creates a false impression. This is IC by omission. Performance data in marketing materials also triggers Standard Roman III D. GIPS compliance obligations. When you see performance claims in marketing materials, always check for both IC and Roman III D. Pause here. Screenshot this. Standard IC. The trigger is a false or misleading statement, written, verbal, or implied, in a professional context. Includes omissions of material fact that create false impressions. Standard ID. The trigger is a dishonest ACT or any act that reflects adversely on professional reputation, integrity, or competence. Personal conduct counts, no false statement required. The plagiarism rule. Attribution required for analysis, ideas, and intellectual frameworks. Not for widely available factual data. The test, whose intellectual work is this, not did you use their exact words. The designation rule. CFA after your name only when you have the full charter. No partial credentials exist. CFA candidate only when currently registered for an exam. No harm required. CFA standards are conduct-based, not outcome-based. These 8 rules will get you every I, C, and ID question right. Pause here. Screenshot this. Standard IC. The trigger is a false or misleading statement, written, verbal, or implied, in a professional context. Includes omissions of material fact that create false impressions. Standard ID. The trigger is a dishonest ACT or any act that reflects adversely on professional reputation, integrity, or competence. Personal conduct counts, no false statement required. The plagiarism rule. Attribution required for analysis, ideas, and intellectual frameworks. Not for widely available factual data. The test, whose intellectual work is this, not did you use their exact words. The designation rule. CFA after your name only when you have the full charter. No partial credentials exist. CFA candidate only when currently registered for an exam. No harm required. CFA standards are conduct-based, not outcome-based. These 8 rules will get you every I, C, and ID question right. Exam strategy for standard I, C, and ID questions. The exam tests ethics on 36 to 54 questions, roughly 10 to 15% of your total score. Every ethics question you miss has an outsized impact. Time allocation. Ethics scenario questions are complex. Spend 90 seconds maximum on each. If you cannot identify the standard after 90 seconds, eliminate I, C, if there is no false statement. Eliminate I, D, if the scenario is purely a written communication with no behavioral component. Elimination rules for IC and ID. Any answer saying personal conduct cannot violate CFA standards is almost certainly wrong. Any answer saying no harm means no violation is almost certainly wrong. Any answer saying paraphrasing is not plagiarism is almost certainly wrong. Pattern recognition. C. Paraphrase in STEM, default to I. C. Violation unless clearly attributed. C. Performance track record in marketing materials. Look for both IC and Roman 3D. C. CFA, used before charter earned I. C. Violation always. Standard I, C, and ID appear in roughly 20% of all CFA Institute disciplinary cases that result in sanctions. That is not a coincidence. These standards are violated because professionals misunderstand exactly where the line is. You now have that lined. False statement in professional context, that is IC. Dishonest ACT or anything reflecting adversely on your professional integrity, that is ID. Both can apply simultaneously. No harm is required. Personal conduct is included. Paraphrasing is plagiarism. CFA designation is all or nothing. If this was on your exam tomorrow, you would get it right. The next lesson in this ethics series covers standard II, material non-public information, and market manipulation. That is the standard that gets the most headlines. Subscribe, that one is up next.